What's going on, guys? Welcome back to The Real with Joseph Lamtman. I am Joseph Lamtman. For you guys are tuning back in. This video will also be on Rumble as well. I'm on Rumble now. I'm looking forward to using Rumble. I'll put exclusive content on there as well, a little more direct, a little more raw. Because sometimes on YouTube you can't put certain things out, say certain things because the algorithms are, and there's a lot of editing that goes into it as well. So follow me on Rumble. Looking forward to putting videos out there. This will be my first one on Rumble. So hello to my Rumble people. um, if you're new here to my YouTube channel, like, subscribe, share. And if you're a returning viewer, nice to see you. Appreciate all you guys. And yeah, different format today for this show. I saw something I wanted to talk about. I'm going to get into here with Zion Williamson and how this stuff going on with Zion. It kind of reminded me. It makes me think of something I went through, experience I went through, and I'm not saying it's correlated. Before I start today, I'm not I'm not diagnosing Zion Williamson with anything. I'm not saying Zion has anxiety or GAD or health anxiety or any of that stuff. I'm not saying Zion has exactly what I went through, right? But based on some of his comments and what's going on right now with the Pelicans and him and all the stuff in the media, talk about should they trade him, and people are talking about his weight and stuff, and he needs to cut weight, or he's not doing it. He's not doing his part. There's a lot going on, right? He's taking a lot of criticism in the media. There's just a lot going on, and then I hear his comments the other day when he spoke to the media, and I thought, to me, Zion's comments to me really stood out to me. And as I heard some other like former players on other podcasts giving reactions, uh, it really just stood out to me. I wonder if there's something else really going on here with this guy. Like, I wonder, if there's almost like an internal, like a pressure going on, just something like the pressure might be getting to him, or something just seems all kind of just like it could be more mental with him now than it is physically. And so I'm gonna get into it, but starting off with Zion, though, right? And so Zion Williamson. Zion was the number one overall pick in the 2019 NBA draft. Everybody knows, if you follow sports, everybody knows Zion Williamson. He was touted to be the next LeBron James. Could jump out of the gym. You know, he was supposed to be the next guy to take over the league. Like right about now, he's in year 4 or 5 now. So he should be the next guy to take over the league. The guy to replace LeBron. A lot of expectations put on Zion. You know, he was the number one player in high school. Freakish athlete, could jump out of the gym. Lit it up at Duke, and so he gets drafted by the New Orleans Pelicans. And since he's been with the Pelicans, it just hasn't. When he's played well. He's put up good numbers. I think he's been an all-star. I think he was a starter one year, but he's played great when he's healthy. But that's the thing with Zion. He hasn't been healthy. He hasn't been available. And so now you're looking at the Pelicans side of it. They're kind of like, we just paid this guy this big contract, and could we really count on this guy to be our franchise player if he's not available? And now you're hearing a lot of stuff talking about, is Zion, is he close to almost 300 pounds, which is not the ideal weight you want him at. Usually you would want Zion. He should be around 260 probably. If he's pushing almost 300 pounds, which is some of the rumors, I don't know if it's true, but if he's pushing almost 300 pounds, that's not a playable weight, obviously. So he's got to drop, to me, he's got to drop to at least 260, maybe 265, but preferably in the 250, 260 range for him. He can still keep his size, his speed, his athleticism, explosion. If he wants to keep a little extra weight on, if he wants to play bigger. Same thing happened with Charles Barkley. When Charles Barkley came out of college, people for Charles Barkley was 300 pounds in college, playing point guard, and he had to drop. He had a good veteran with him at Dr. J. He got drafted to a good organization at the time. Was winning championships, and Dr. J showed him how to drop the weight. He got down about, I think he said 250 at one point. That was his playing weight, and as the more weight he lost, the more because Charles didn't come out. He didn't start right away. He had to crack the rotation because he was on a loaded Sixers team, and so. But he said the more he dropped the weight, the more he, increased his playing time, and eventually started and then became Charles Barkley. who became a first ballot Hall of Famer, and so one of the best players of that era. And so same thing with this one's a little different, like with Isaiah Thomas, the great Isaiah Thomas. His is a little different, but I remember I heard stories when Isaiah Thomas was, because Isaiah Thomas, growing up in Chicago, grew up really poor. Like there was days Isaiah Thomas didn't eat for days, and he would just go play basketball. He would go play ball just to hold off the hunger, and so he didn't eat a lot growing up. He just didn't have food in his house. He was really poor, living in Chicago. And when Zion got to Indiana, when Bob Knight recruited him there, he had never seen, at Indiana, you're at a bigger university. They got all kinds of food for you, good food, always available. And he never had that kind of food available to him like that. He was like, man. And so when he was at Indiana, he had to kind of like be careful not to eat too much. Even though he was a smaller guard, he never had weight problems, but he had to, just never had that available to him. So, with Zion, I remember coming out, there was always speculation about can he stay healthy, that kind of weight, because he was, I think in college, I think he was 265 in college, if I'm not mistaken. So now you're a professional athlete, you're in New Orleans, and when those New Orleans is, Louisiana, they got great food down there. And so, could Zion be, struggling a bit to maintain the weight? Could he be, that could affect a lot of his injuries, because I think he had a foot injury. And if you got a foot injury and you're pushing almost 300 pounds, it's not playable, and that's a lot of force coming down to your joints, your knees, your ankles. Anybody that's ever been an athlete knows that. I had some ankle injuries growing up. Periodically, I rolled my ankle and stuff, but had a knee injury and stuff, which I'm gonna get into here in a little bit, because it all happened for me in the same year. But I wonder what Zion, though. I think you see these comments the other day, right? Let me put this on the screen here. You see these comments the other day from first we'll start off with David Griffin, who's the vice president of the team. David Griffin says he was playing one on none, so he wasn't playing against anybody. He was talking about Zion doing his pregame workouts, getting back in shape, or trying to see if they can get him healthy, because the Pelicans were in a play-in tournament this year, and so they were trying to add him. See, maybe if we add Zion, maybe we can make a run. Well, Zion didn't come back, and he said, so David Griffin went on to say, we highlight this right here, he went up and windmilled, dunked pregame. That's not the skill set that makes you capable of playing 5-on-5 basketball. I think a big part, and then this is where it gets interesting. Griffin says, I think a big part is on him. I think there's a lot better he can do. And he would, I think, tell you that. I think we need to do a better job of examining the whole situation top to bottom a little bit better. So to me, the big part there is at the end, where it starts right here, where he says, I think a big part is on him. I think there is a lot he could do better, and he would, I think, tell you that. I think we need to do a better job of examining the whole situation top to bottom a little bit better. And so last Tuesday, Zion spoke to the media. And this is where Zion's comments to me really stood out, because Zion says, quote, physically I'm fine, Williams said. Now it's just a matter of when I feel like Zion. I pretty much can do everything, but it's just a matter of the level that I was playing at before my hamstring. I don't want to go out there and be in my own head and affect the team when I can just be on the sideline supporting them more, because I know myself. Now, there's two things that stand out to me here. And, everybody knows this channel, what I talk about, mental health and stuff, anxiety, and just, going through pressure. This really stood out to me, because it says, now it's just a matter when he says, physically I'm fine, but it's just a matter when I feel like Zion. So I was like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean like when you feel like Zion again? You mean like when you physically? Well, he said physically, he said he's fine, but I don't feel like I'm Zion. And he goes on again, I don't want to go out there and be in my own head and affect the team when I could just be on the sideline supporting them more. I know, because I know myself. So he says, I don't want to go out there and, quote, be in my own head and affect the team because I know myself. To me, and I've heard some other guys in the NBA, ex players, commenting on this. I think to me, what's going on with Zion is more mental, in my opinion. I think this is more mental getting to him now. I think when you're a guy like Zion, you're taking number one overall. You're supposed to be the next LeBron James. You're supposed to be, you have high expectations put on you, right? A lot of pressure lives up to that. You get paid big money. It's a lot of pressure that goes up to that. You're supposed to be the franchise guy. You're supposed to be the face of the league one day. And, you know, that's not being met. And now you're getting pressure from the media. I just think, that's a lot of pressure. Only very few people, obviously, in his position, ever been in his position, they can really relate to. None of us are going to be, in the world media spotlight every day getting talked about. People are talking about your weight, talking about you physically is saying it's your fault. Now you got even the guy on your own team, your vice president, saying it's all big parts on him, and we need to examine the whole situation. And when I think of that too, I think of, just like I said, I think the expectations, the pressure. But when I think of what Zion said about, right here, like I said, I brought up on the screen, physically he says he feels fine, but he says, now it's just a matter when I feel like Zion. And then when he goes on later on saying, I don't want to go out there and be in my own head and affect the team when I could just be on the sideline supporting them more because I know myself. And it really made me think of an experience I went through. Obviously, I'm not a Zion Williamson, obviously, but, when I was 14 years old, 13, 14 years old, I was growing up. Well, let me backtrack a little bit. So growing up, I was a 3-sport athlete. I played basketball, football, baseball. Was pretty well at all three, was successful at all three, won championships at all three, multiple championships at all three, and was played some great teammates. I had a great experience playing sports growing up. Taught me a lot about life. I had great coaches, teammates, guys that are still dear friends to me today. Some guys I consider brothers, and love playing sports. Anybody knew me growing up? You went to school with me growing up, or knew me growing up? I was, and still am, always into sports. Big sports guy. I was the biggest LeBron fan when I was younger. Obviously, being in Ohio, rooting for the Cavs. I love Joe Thomas. The reason why I wore number 73 in football is because of Joe Thomas. Ohio State, all of it. Yeah, right. And so, growing up for me, I had a lot of great times. But when I got to about 11 years old, I started to have bad experience. I was starting to have more mental anxiety, just more anxiety going on within me, fear. And I remember I had an experience one day in practice, right? I had experience. I was 11 years old. It was our first practice of the year, middle of summer. So guys are coming in. When you come in your first practice, you're not really in shape. You got to, coaches are running you to death. And so we're running. And I remember that day I didn't, I was over at, I think it was at my grandmother's house that day. Yeah. And I remember I was just hanging out and stuff, but it was really hot that day. And I started running, and I just got a little overheated just a little bit because it was really hot and we were running. I think I just panicked for a second. I had like this weird feeling within me. And man, I just started panicking. I remember I went to the sideline. I started having a meltdown, like a panic attack. And I'm only 11 years old at the time. I don't know what's going on. I never really felt like that before. And, I'm going through it, feeling this. And I remember that just really scared me. And I eventually drank a couple Gatorades, some water, went back out there, finished practice, and then, went on to play the season. But from that point on, it made me more of a hypochondriac, right? And I became very fearful of that feeling. That feeling I didn't feel safe with that feeling. That feeling scared me, right? And so, and as time went on throughout the years, I was still able to play well and be, I played the next year. We came back, and that was 2011. 2012 was the greatest sporting experience I ever had. My national championship, we won a national championship, 2012 varsity black, shout out to all you guys. And, loved playing that year, loved everything about it. We went on to win, we accomplished our main goal, win a national championship. It was an amazing experience I'll never forget. That not many people, I'm fortunate to even have the opportunity to go through that. And, I was a starting center on the team. And so, uh, loved it. Was playing baseball, won championships there in back-to-back years, won district championship. Was playing really well in baseball. Uh, was playing basketball and was doing fine there. Although, see, here's the problem I have. And I didn't realize this till later on in my journey when I had to really pinpoint things and figure things out in my life, right? I didn't realize the effect that had on me when I was 11, that experience. Because what happened was after that, at 12, 13, 14 years old, I started slowly became a hypochondriac. I would be really conscious of, drinking enough water, eating enough, because I never wanted to feel what I felt that day again. It scared me because I didn't feel safe that day. And I've actually connected to some other things in my life too, even beyond that I'm gonna get into later. I'll share down the road. I'm still working on some things in myself, just growing more. But I have pinpointed everything that I've gone through and started to heal from it all, reframe it all, and with the help of the anxiety guy and everybody else, the support I have. I'm still growing and working on me, but I've come a long, and I'm damn sure not where I used to be. Complete 180. I feel as free and as best I've ever felt, and I know God has great things in store for me coming that I can't wait for. But with all that being said, that really messed with me, and so when I went to the same school too my whole life. So from 5, 6 years old, I went to the same school for a decade almost till 8th grade. So I was pretty comfortable in my school. I was around my friends every day. Some of the guys I go play ball with, like Zach Potok, you've seen on the show, Debo, aka we call his name's Deshaun Martin, aka Debo. I was going to school with these two guys, my best friends. I'm going to school with these guys, and we're playing ball together too. And so, I'm going to school with my man Justin Carey. We'll play basketball together. I knew Justin since we were a kid. We went to Herb since we were in kindergarten. We started together in kindergarten. If I could talk, shout out Justin. But so I was pretty comfortable, right? And was really close with a lot of my coaches and teammates and teachers and authority figure. I was really cool, really comfortable and really close to everybody. And everybody knew who I was and I knew them, right? They knew my family, I knew theirs. Very comfortable environment. But then I got put, time went on. It was time to graduate, and I had to pick a high school to go to. And so I went on to New Beginnings, and I started school at Cuyahoga Valley Christian Academy. Shout out CVCA. And it was a lot different for me. I remember how nervous I was my first day of school because I knew it was going to be a lot different. It was a much bigger school than what I was used to going to, but it was just everything was different. Everything was new. And I wasn't used to that kind of change. And that feeling I had of when I was 11 years old, that experience, not trying to feel that ever again, the pressure of that, within. And then also there's expectations being put on me as well. When you go to a private school, you're expected to you get to be accepted into these schools. So, there is expectations, not only from your parents, but from the school as well. You have to have good grades and maintain grades, play ball. When you play ball, they expect you to play well and at least be ready. And when all this is going on, at the same time, you're also trying to fit in. You're trying to meet new people. You're trying to, you're going through a lot of changes at that age as well. So, you're just so much going on. There's a lot going on. A lot of internal pressure, internal dialogue, right? For that I was going through, because there's a lot of things that I was trying to process that I didn't know how to process. Didn't know how to express certain things. And I also didn't feel like I didn't know how to express it because you just didn't really see it, right? You just didn't really hear about it. I didn't really hear about anxiety growing up. I just was told, what a lot of us see in society is just, suck it up and just tough it out and just hold it in and keep going, and pray, which, obviously always pray. But there wasn't you just didn't really feel the support, or if there was like support out there, you just didn't see it. And when I look at the Zion Williamson thing and I hear his comments when he says that, to me, it's almost like I feel like this guy doesn't. He just looks like a guy who just all that pressure, all that um, expectations not being met, and then now they're talking about trading you. And who knows? Maybe Zion wants to be traded. Maybe he just wants out of New Orleans. This is his way to get out. That's possible. Not saying it is or it is, but it's possible. You never know. Can't rule it out. But again, just going off the comments of what we know, to me, it just looks like a guy who, like I said, the pressure and everything, he's just starting to and you have injuries, you can't be available. His confidence, it sounds like, isn't there. It's a confidence issue. He doesn't feel confident going out and playing, like he said. He said it in his own words. Basically, that's what he's saying, because I don't feel confident enough to go out there and perform because I don't feel like myself. And it made me feel like, it reminded me of this experience I went through my freshman year, because, and this is kind of like a bigger picture of what I'm talking about today, because one of the reasons why I do what I do is because there's another kid, just like that kid on the screen there, the 15-year-old right there on the screen, that's going to go through exactly what I went through. But I hope through me or somebody else, maybe the anxiety guy, that he has the support and the help and resources he needs to be able to work through it. Hopefully, God chose me. Maybe I was one of the first ones not the first person to ever go through anxiety. I'm not saying that, but I had to go through what I went through to help somebody else, and I've already seen that happen. Even just within my own family, within my own home, right? A lot of my hypochondria that I was going through was from generational anxiety, passed down habits, things I thought were normal, things my family thought was normal. It wasn't anybody's fault. It was just a lot of stuff that happened, a lot of trauma, and it was a lot to unpack. But it's God chose me and my family to stop with me. It stopped with me, right? And so now, having a sister getting ready to go to high school next year, she's a hell of a lot more prepared and a lot better than I was, just like confidence wise and everything, more social than I was. Just a lot more like just freer than I was getting ready for high school. And it's prepared us more as a family, and for her, my parents, to prepare herself for that, right? And so, but again, my experience though, what I see going on with Zion's reminded me of me is just because that's how it was for me my freshman year. I went to a new school. I got all this stuff going on. I don't know how to express things. I don't know how to. I just thought it was normal, and I just got so used to being a hypochondriac, doing those kind of habits too. What I was doing the years prior, since I was 11, I just kept doing them. But when I got to a new environment, and then I started basketball season rolled around, because I didn't play football the year. And I remember I was going to play freshman football. And the reason why I didn't play freshman football is because, number one, I didn't want to play. I was kind of not really as into football. I think a lot of it's because I wasn't playing with my guys. Plus, it's hard, man. When you reach, like I said, that experience I had when I was 12 years old, when you win a national championship and you're as close as you'll ever be with people, like we were that close. It's like hard to ever really. It's like when you get to the top, and it's like you want to. Nothing will ever like can give you that feeling again. And that's what it was like. I kind of just because I didn't play the next year. I didn't play football in 8th grade. I took a year off because I was just so tired from playing all that football season was so long. We had basketball after, then baseball after. By the time I was doing baseball, I was just done. So I decided not to play football that following year because I just needed time off. Plus, I wanted to focus more on school because I was trying to make sure my grades were, where I needed to be, because I knew I had to get accepted into the school. And so, just a lot going on. But with all that being said, though, when I got into that new school and I started to, I was trying to settle in. But then once I started playing sports, and I didn't play football. And a lot of reasons why I didn't play football, what I was getting at, was because, like I said, I didn't really have the desire anymore. But also, a lot was just my own insecurity, my own fear. It was the hypochondria, the fear of not feeling safe. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't want to try something. I didn't want to do something that would, number one, put more into that uncomfortable feeling, but also would trigger my hypochondria more, my health anxiety more. And so I was like, I don't want to play football. And so my mom and dad really wanted me to play. And they almost were pushing me to play where I almost had no choice, but they backed off. They said, okay, you don't got to play. And uh, so I was like, okay, cool. And luckily, the coach at that time, my freshman year, I knew pretty well. We're kind of related in a way. So he was working with me. So that kind of passed. So I said, okay, I want to play basketball. And so I remember I went to basketball. And as all this is going on, I wasn't training for basketball. I wasn't prepared at all. I wasn't doing anything. I was just focusing on trying to just what I was going through at that moment, trying to get settled in with school and, trying to just kind of just settle in, right? I wasn't really preparing myself for anything. I wasn't really prepared what I was doing, to be honest with you. So didn't feel prepared. And so I remember like my first open gym. We in high school, each time you level up in sports, college to pros, the conditioning gets more and more intense, obviously, and as it should. And so I remember I went to my first open gym, and I wasn't in shape to play. I didn't train at all that summer. Usually, like when I get ready for sports, I would start to train. Like I would start to make sure I was in shape and work out. But that summer, going to the new school, I didn't do any of that because I was going through all the other stuff, and I was traveling a lot, and so I remember that first open gym. Shout out to my man Bryce Bates. Shout out to Bryce Bates. Shout out to you, bro. Uh, Bryce is one of my good friends I met at CBCA. Yeah, but we actually had a lot of connections too. He grew up in the Falls. I grew up in the Falls. We knew a lot of the same people. So him and I hit it off. And so I remember him and I went to the first open gym together, and him and I were both just gassing. And man, that was rough. That running. We ran first, and then we would play pickup games. And I remember after that running, I was like, shit. Like I don't know if I want, but it sparked. I was feeling kind of similar just from being out of shape, not in shape to play basketball yet. I was feeling the same way, that feeling I felt when I was 11 years old. All right, and it started to really mess with me. Now it got to the point where by the time we got the tryouts, I wasn't worried about making the team. I knew I'd make the team. Plus, if I was really dialed in, I was making a team wasn't my concern. I knew I could make the team pretty fine. I wasn't concerned about that, but it was more of what would hold me back, what would make me hesitant when I was playing. Even by the times where I wouldn't go full speed, times I wouldn't go on, playing how I know I'm capable of playing, and what I've done in the past before that was because of that. I was so fearful. I was so caught up internally in feeling. I was so caught up in how I was feeling and what I was, those intrusive thoughts. I was having like, thoughts going on in my head as I was playing or practicing or running, like worrying about the what ifs. Like, remember what happened to you that time you're 11? What if that happened? Like, what if the worst happens? What if it escalates? You know what I mean? And I couldn't get that out of my head, like, out of my system. And I didn't know how to really deal with that at the time. And so, you know, I start playing ball. I make the team. But I remember when I tried out, I didn't want to make the team. That's how, like, when I made the team, I literally went out to the car and was in tears and was scared because I was so scared of that feeling. I had so much fear going on inside of me, and just all the change, everything going. I mean, there was so much going on beyond that as well. The hypochondria, just so much change and just so much things that I couldn't really, some other stuff going on internally that I couldn't express. I couldn't just, figure out. I couldn't like rationalize many things. There was just so much change going on all at once. And you got all that pressure. Remember the pressure to maintain. The pressure's going on you as well. And so I'm going through the season, and as I'm going through the season, I start off the season. I make the team. I didn't want to make the team. I was hoping they would tell me I didn't make the team, and I go in there like, "Hey, Joe, congratulations, you made the team." And most people are like, "Yes, all right, I made the team." Me, I was just kind of like, "Damn it, like shit, I gotta go. Like, I gotta keep doing this." Like, but it was all centered around that fear. I didn't feel right. I didn't feel like myself. Anybody that knew me before I went there, like really knew me, knew who I was, knew who I was about. I loved competing, loved playing ball, loved playing sports, and that, like, the old me before that would have been like, it would have been like a yawn session. Like when I got told I made the team, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I expected that, thanks. Right? Like, okay, cool. When's the first practice? Right? And so But again, my at this time I'm not myself. I'm complete opposite. I'm not prepared. I'm not. And so as the season goes on, beginning of the season, I get injured. I have a tendon. I get a tendon injury, a strained tendon in my left knee. And with tendon injuries, you got to be a little more cautious with them because they can kind of escalate a little bit. And so I had to, the trainer at the CBCA, shout out to Leanne, uh, spent a lot of time. Leanne got to know me really well because of my injuries. And then later on, when I was going through the anxiety attacks on the field, Leanne really would help me a lot. And so I didn't tear it, but I strained my tendon. They'd be really cautious with it. So for like 2 or 3 weeks, I couldn't like barely practice. I'd be really cautious. They wanted me to slow down and like not, don't put too much on it. If you feel any pain, get off to the side and start stretching it, icing it, And I never really dealt with injuries before, like that. Like it's the only thing I really dealt with was like rolled ankles and stuff, or playing football. But you just play through that. That didn't bother me. Um, and so I get through that. I remember I start the first game, um, but my rhythm wasn't there. I just didn't feel the missing the preseason like that really messed with me. And plus, it's all the other stuff as well. But I was like, okay, I started the first game. I remember we played Kenmore. We blew Kenmore out. And I felt comfortable after the first game. I was still kind of getting acclimated with the system and everything and trying to figure out my role. But again, that fear, though, was still lingering inside of me. I was half into it and half out of it. Part of me, part of me wanted to be all in and be normal, like just play ball, do what I love. But then another part of me was like that resistance, that fear, that anxiety inside me was pulling me away, and I didn't know how to handle that. And so the fear won the battle, basically in my situation at that time. It was overruling me more, and so as time went on, uh, I got hurt again. I sprained my ankle it was in January, I think. No, it was at end of December, so about almost mid-season. I sprained my ankle in practice, so that keeps me out for a little bit. And then once that injury happened, and by this time I was in and out I wasn't starting as much because I wasn't. Here's what happened. When I would get in practice, I would start getting that feeling, and I would start getting those thoughts, that health anxiety. And there's times when we were in practice, I would not practice. I would just sit kind of off to the side. And usually you would check yourself in because it's 5-on-5. We would do 5-on-5 scrimmages every day at the end of practice. But I would actually just not come in sometimes. There's sometimes I remember like the coach like, hey man, you got to get in there and get some reps or what? Because I did not want to. I had so much anxiety and fear within me, all from that experience that just built up throughout the years. It was controlling me now, where I was so fearful to do anything, and I wasn't myself. And then as all this is going on, my confidence is going lower and lower and lower, to the point where I don't really care anymore. Where I basically, like, by mid-season, once I rolled my ankle and sprained it, and then I had to go through that, I was checked out. Like, okay, I was like, all right, let's just get to the rest of the season and go from there, right? And so that's what happened. That's what it was. That's how my freshman basketball experience went. Just the anxiety came so overwhelming, and the change, everything that was going on, my confidence just went slower and slower, and just lower down, and slowly over time. And I remember I remember the conference we played in. We played against teams. It was a weird conference. We played against teams that were like hour and a half away, way out there. So there was nights where, like when I got to the point where I wasn't really playing, rolled my ankle, and I just came back and I was checked out. So I wasn't playing really. I was just sit there. Shout out to man, Patrick Kearney, my other good friend of mine. I love Patrick, great guy. I remember Pat and I used to just sit there at the end of the bench in games, just bullshit and talk about other stuff as the game was going on, and just shout out to Pat. Pat really helped me get through that season, and Pat really helped me through my. Pat might not know this, but Pat really helped me through later on as well. And I'm gonna get to that in a minute. Um, and so fast forward a little bit, so I go through that, and I remember, like I said, we played far away. And I remember like those. We used to have like long bus rides home. Like your parents to go to the game. Sometimes my mom was able to her dad. My dad was working. It's my mom, and I wasn't playing, so I told my mom to stay home. So I would still, travel the game. Obviously, I'm on a team, and so there was a lot of those nights, man. I remember just those long bus rides home. I used to sit there. At that time, I was listening to. I remember Drake's new album came out. If you're reading this, it's too late. I mean, that was my album my freshman year. I listened to that album damn near most of my freshman year. I had that on repeat. Some of the songs in there. If I hear some of the songs today, it just takes me back to that. The feeling. I just remember where I was, the feeling, but it reminds me right on that bus home at night, pitch dark. And I used to sit there on those bus rides and just think to myself, like, there was some things I was thinking about more other things sometimes, but I just was like, I was kind of just going with the flow. I remember I was just kind of like, here I am. This didn't work out the way I wanted it to. My expectations are not met. People around me had expectations. It's not being met. So I was slowly just starting to go downhill. So then I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to play football. And so I move on to football. And when I get to football, the same thing happened. The same thing happened. We started workouts in that spring, and I started getting that health anxiety again. And I was kind of like teetering for a while whether we wanted to play from all the way up until probably the end of July, almost August, which is no. You start official practices August 1st. I was teetered even playing even up until then. There was days where I didn't go to practice. I would miss workouts because I was having panic attacks that morning. I couldn't leave the house. There was some mornings my mom and dad had to make me go, and I didn't want to go. And so the health anxiety just really escalated more and more through all these. Once I tried football, I was excited to play football at first. But then once I started working out again, I started and just doing, again, something new, more change. And I had other stuff going on at that time too. I was down about some things internally, just other stuff going on at school, it was getting down. Like just couldn't, I couldn't understand what the hell was going on inside of me. Like I said, I just couldn't, and I didn't feel like myself. Kind of like Zion said, which is why I bring this up today, because I kind of wonder what Zion's going through is, uh, I hope Zion gets when David Griffin says they're going to examine the whole situation. I really hope they really make that guy, give him the support he needs mentally to get him mentally back, because that's a whole different kind of pressure there. Obviously, this guy's in the media every day. He's got to hear all this stuff, and obviously, yes, there's accountability with it. And who knows? Maybe he does need to be more accountable. Maybe not, eat healthier and work out more. But when I read those comments, it really just reminded me a lot of that, because and what this video is really targeted towards is, okay, you see a guy in the public eye right now, what he's going through. Here's my experience, what I went through. And to finish off this story here real quick, I've told this many times, but when I went through football, and I had some bad experiences too when I was playing football, I had some interactions, like just some other stuff going on with a coach and stuff. And, a lot of it was due to, and no, it was nobody's fault. It was all due to just miscommunication, because my parents didn't know what was going on with me. I didn't know what was going on with me. By this time, let's fast forward to summer now, at 15, I'm going into my sophomore year, about to turn 16. The anxiety and everything just escalated to a whole nother level, like where it was uncontrollable. Panic attacks every morning. I couldn't sleep at night. Like, it was bad. And so, but I'm still trying to get through this, everybody around me, my coach, everybody's like just trying to figure it out. But at the same time, here's what happened with me, and I wonder what Zion, I hope, isn't going on with him, is obviously his expectations are a lot different. He's a pro athlete and there's public eye. But again, expectations are expectations. Pressure is pressure. And by this time, when I started school at the beginning of my sophomore year, I just went through the summer of just hell. I don't want to play football. I gotta go through this shit for the rest of the season. And a lot of it was just the shit was just my own stuff. Just the anxiety, it just felt like crap. And what was bothering me though, a lot of what was bothering me, going back to basketball, going back to just that whole experience, football, school, is the teachers and a lot of people around me had expectations. I wasn't meeting them. Like, I don't say teachers, my coaches rather, teammates. I feel like I was letting them down. I feel like I was not able to be myself, but I also feel like people were you can start to become really insecure and start to write movies in your head and those movies start to turn into, you feel like people just like ain't like I feel like people like for me, it got to the point where I was just kind of like, man, I feel like these people really messing with me. I can't. I don't feel like I can be myself. I don't feel myself. I feel like I'm letting people down. I feel like people are saying I'm not living up to the expectations they put on me because people had high expectations for me, and so, uh, and the pressure too of just maintaining your grades, performance. Being the best student. You got to be the best friend. Trying to be a good friend. You're trying to do everything. You're trying to be the best you can at everything. Do the best you can. But that pressure started with one thing. It was internal pressure from anxiety, panic, and then also pressure from the outside as well. But what really spiraled mine out of control was what made my situation crash was because I didn't really have the support I needed because nobody around me knew what the hell to do. Everybody just kept pushing me through, trying to push me through. Everybody wanted me to be what they wanted me to be, and were trying to make me. And I'm not saying that out of ill will. It was more just. Now, I'll be honest. There was some pressure I feel like from the school where it was a different culture. What I grew up in, the school had a different kind of culture. Not saying it's bad, and not saying generalize and saying everybody there. That's not what I'm saying. So nobody take that the wrong way. But that's not what I mean. What I mean though is there was a different culture, a different vibe in a way, and some of it wasn't who I was in a way. It was more, which is cool. Everybody's different. Totally. That's part of life. Everybody's different ways, and I'm cool. And now I'm at a point in my life now. I love meeting different people and different things. But at that time, when I'm going through all that, it felt like sometimes I felt like people were just attacking me. Right? It felt like people were criticizing me. People wanted me to be who they wanted me to be, or I wasn't buying into certain things, or whatever. Right? That's just how I felt. And again, all that internal pressure, all those movies you start to write in your head, you start to you start to almost make people's judgments about you before you give them a chance, before you even talk to them, before you try to talk to them, before you know you like really they let them get to really know you. You just kind of go off people's opinions. And so I started kind of just, I just shut myself off towards the end of this whole, towards my end of my experience there. I shut myself off, blocked everything out. I said, I'm just trying to get through this. I really just wanted to get out of here and I just wanted to settle down and try to figure out what was going on with me. I did not feel myself. I felt like constant pain every single day. And this anxiety and this panic was getting worse. And it was scaring me more and more. And it was scaring that feeling more. That hypochondria was growing bigger and bigger and bigger. Right? And I was angry. I was pissed off. And so, but what helped me though, I wanted to shout my man out, Kearney again. Shout out Patrick Kearney. I remember when you're going through all this, especially at that age, you really feel like you're the only person going through it. And when nobody around you, especially adults, can't really tell what's going on. So I went to the doctor to say, okay, it's anxiety. Okay, good. And they put me on medicine, but the medicine made me feel like crap. I wasn't used to I never took medicine before. And so I remember I remember one day I was at practice and I was getting real fidgety. Anxiety, if you get real tense with anxiety, you can get real fidgety. You could start and sometimes it's just weird. Anybody has this when you get really tense. I don't do this. I did this in the beginning though. Around this time, I would go like that. I would make this clicking noise on my tongue. It was and it was from tension in my face, my neck. And I was really really tense, obviously. I remember I was standing next to my man Kearney. And Kearney's heard that. He goes, "Dude, is that you?" And I was like, I remember when he heard me, I was like, "Shit." I was trying to hide it, and I was trying to hide everything at that time. And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Dude, I do that too." I was like, "Shit, really?" And I was like, I remember when he said that, I was like, "Damn, wait, hold on a second. Somebody else knows what I'm going through." And he's like, "Dude, you got anxiety?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude." And he's like, we start talking privately. We're like, he's like, "Dude, I go through it all the time. I think he said like insomnia." He was going through, I was like, "Damn." And him and I were already pretty good friends. And I was like, but I remember that just to hear somebody else understand what I was going through, just off of something small like that, just by hearing me doing that noise. I remember I was just like, damn. But again, there still wasn't the proper support and help I needed at that time. And so eventually, I left the school and I left abruptly. Remember my last day there, I was sitting at lunch with my man Mike Matthews and my man Tristan Ford. Shout out Tristan. Shout out to Mike. You guys see Mike on the show. He'll be back on pretty soon. Stay tuned. But I remember my last day there. that last week was rough. I remember I had a rough day. Tuesday at football, bad experience, and I finally was taken off the team. I was going to try to stay at the school and at least try to finish schooling there. I remember my last day, I had a bad panic attack in the bathroom. I've told that story many times. And then the school officer came in and helped me get out and so forth. That was it. And I walked out that day at noon and at lunchtime. And I remember when I walked out, I knew it was over. Like, it was weird. It was a weird feeling. I walked out. It was a September day. It was warm. Uh, it was a Thursday. I remember when I walked out, I remember I kind of just looked around and I could hear the flagpole from the wind kind of bouncing. It was really calm and still. And I remember I just had this weird feeling that was it. Like, something was telling me that chapter was over with. And I was moving on to something totally different now. And so, but again, reason why I bring up Zion today, why I bring up all this is because I think when I read those comments from Zion, and when I see a lot of stuff going on today with just the world in general, when he says that, I don't feel like myself. I just wonder, like I said, I wonder if a lot of that pressure from the outside, the expectations not being met, I feel like this is more mental with him. He pretty much told you. He said, physically, I'm fine. He said, I just don't feel like myself. And so, it's like for me, I always, if I would have had, you always do the what ifs. If I would have had, the kind of help and support I needed when I was going through it, it could be any age. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're rich, you're poor, everybody goes through shit. And so, but do we have the proper support nowadays? I mean, when you hear people talk in the media and you hear people talk like with Zion's story, and when you look at our society in general, our first line of response to really help a lot of things is not good. We're really behind in a lot of ways, especially in the Western side of the Western civilization. We're really behind in a lot of ways because our first line of defense is like what I went through at that age, right there on the screen. You go to the doctor, they tell you they give you a label, your GAD, your X, Y, and Z, whatever. And a lot of people, they take that label and they think that's who they are, and they say, okay, this is what I am. I have anxiety. I have this label. I got GAD. I'm a hypochondriac. I got health anxiety. I got agoraphobia, whatever. And I just got to learn to deal with it. And people just accept it as who they are. Like, they feel like they have to live with this the rest of their life. And they just make ways to kind of cope with it. And I think, there's times when you need to settle in. Like, at first I had to learn to cope just to settle down. But again, if you really want to solve things, if you really I would never figured out what happened to me if I didn't really look deeper into the root causes and really, really looked into what was really bothering me and being honest with myself. If I would have kept doing what I was doing at first, just by taking medicine and talk therapy and just kind of talking about the problem constantly, not really solving it, I wouldn't be sitting here today. And, when I look at Zion, I really wonder, is this guy getting the proper help he needs? I feel like is the organization failing him in a way, or is it really, what's really going on with this guy? I'm not labeling him. I'm not saying judging him. I'm not saying he has a mental health thing, right? I'm not saying that at all. But just based off his comments, I just wonder, what's really going on with this guy? Because it made me think of all that. It made me think, just a bigger picture in our society in general. I think a lot of people are looking for that. I think a lot of people are looking for the answer and they can't find it because it's not available. They don't know where to find it. You don't hear about it. And this is why I'm putting more content on Rumble too, because I'd be able to really say what the hell I really want to say, and I don't have to worry about algorithms and all that. But to put it like this, I don't think it's promoted enough for certain reasons. Maybe we'll just leave it at that. But how to really help yourself, how you can really move on, and that you don't have to live with that label. That label is not who you are. Anxiety is just a symptom. Anxiety is just a habit. And a lot of mine was just learned habits from generational anxiety, right? But that's why God, I have no regrets of what I went through. I love everything I went through to where I am today. Would do it all again. And I went through a lot of hell, and I went through a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and I was isolated for years. But to be where I am today, and to most importantly help the people I love the most around me. And um, you know, and the opportunities I've had within the last year, opportunities that God's brought in my life, I can't complain. I mean, yeah, I'm still striving for certain things. There's certain things I still would like, but I know I expect that to happen now because I've seen what God's done in my life. But also, you know, how I'm able to really help just me. Not it's not me either. God just used me as a person. Or just use me, living through me to reach other people. It's not about me. It's about other people, about helping other people. And that's why I said it. When there's another 15-year-old like on the screen there on the right, hopefully that guy, that 15-year-old, he or she reaches, finds my page, or sees my content, and maybe they're going through it, sees this video. Hey, you're not the only one. But also understand there is ways you can help yourself. You're not that label. You're not, no matter what age you are, you don't have to live with anxiety forever. And that you can, you know, because our society, that's the word pressure. And our society has so much pressure they put on us. All right. If you don't have certain things, they tell you're missing out. You can get, but not that, you can get pressure from your own family, from your church, from your school. Like if you're single, they'll tell you, "Oh my gosh, you're this age, you're not married yet, or you need to find somebody." They'll pressure you, but that pressure uh, is unnecessary. You know what I mean? It's not what helped me. Going back to if I could tell myself and 15-year-old self now, is just be Joseph Lamtman, be who you were before, be yourself. Don't be what everybody else wants you to be. Don't. Who cares what people think? Because if I'd had that mindset, it'd been a whole different ball game, and things would have went a complete 180 difference. And yeah, it'd have been on. But uh, again, I really hope Zion, uh, you know, gets his career back on track. I hope he's not paying attention to stuff in the media. I hope this guy, because this guy's a tremendous talent, man. This guy should be a first ballot Hall of Famer one day. He's that kind of talent. He should be the face of the league. But again, and maybe he does. Maybe he needs a new situation. Maybe he needs to go to a better organization. Maybe put him in Miami with Pat Riley or something, or put him in a structural organization where they'll help him out, get him in the shape maybe he needs to get in, maybe get his mind right, new situation, fresh start, right? Maybe the Pelicans can figure out. If I was Zion, I would do this. If I was Zion, I would go to XPT training with Laird Hamilton. Laird Hamilton, one of the greatest athletes of all time, one of my role models. I use his products, Laird's Superfood. I use a lot of his training methods. I use a lot of stuff from Laird. I learned a lot from Laird. Just lifestyle in general. Put him in XPT training. Send him out there to Hawaii or maybe Malibu, wherever Laird is. Send him out there with XPT training. Get him in that pool. That's what Zion's just, because if he's pushing almost 300 pounds, I would not put that man on a treadmill or have him running right away, especially coming off a foot injury. XPT has a lot of like pool training, but also they do a lot of breath work as well. Breath work's great for mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Uh, really tapping in your mind, learning to control your breath under pressure, and that's how they teach you how to control. You can make a healthy relationship with that pressure to where it doesn't bother you. I'm telling you, put Zion in XPT training this summer. I bet that guy would come out next year, first, second team All NBA. I really believe that because I believe in that system, but it's also proper training. I think he might need, again, more different kind of training suited for, and a lot of other athletes do. I think Jaylen Brown made some comments recently. He's been doing that training, and look at his performance. It teaches you. It's an XPT lifestyle. It's called Laird Hamilton. I'm telling you, put Zion in XPT with the pool. Start off from the pool training. Maybe eating healthier food. Maybe or just like more plant and animal based food. Get them on breathing techniques. I think the breathing techniques really helps you slow down your mind, be able to block everything out. But I hope he finds something that suits him and gets him back out on that court where he's able to consistently play and be that guy, and not be, hopefully he doesn't start becoming what everybody else wants him to be. Because that pressure, man, will start to eat at you, and that pressure can take things over really quick. And so, that's a message for today. Shout out to all you guys for tuning in. I love all you guys. Appreciate for tuning in this episode of The Real. I know it was a little different style today, but I kind of want to do more different things. If you're listening on Rumble, This is my first Rumble video. My Rumble videos will be a lot shorter than this. I plan on those being a lot shorter. But for the first one today with the topic, I want to make it a little, just kind of rant on a little bit. So shout out to everybody on Rumble. Follow my Rumble page. And, if you're new here, like, subscribe, share, and all that good stuff. Returning viewers, love all you guys. Appreciate the support. And yeah, share this with somebody. If you know somebody out there that's going through this, maybe there's a 15-year-old, somebody in high school, maybe you can relate. Somebody share this video with them, any age. And you don't have to be playing anything. Please share this with them. And if you're going through it, reach out to me. Let me hear your support, or not support. Excuse me, not support. Let me hear your. I'm thinking. I was about to say. What was I going to say? I'm out of brain fart, guys. Oh, I love to hear your guys' story. You can relate to it, and I meant to say appreciate your support. I was going to say that at the end, but no, reach out to me. Let me know what you guys think, and if you're going through it, if you can relate, or maybe just somebody from that when I was back at that experience, when I was going through that at that time. I haven't talked to you in a while. Maybe you remember. I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, shout out to all you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and all that good stuff. Yeah, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out of here. Gone.